Hey everybody, this is going to be my non-spoilery review of Stranger Things Season 2. I'll talk about some of the stuff that I felt like worked really well over Season 1. It was basically them taking all the good stuff from Season 1 and turning the knob up to 11. So they spent way more on special effects, they did a much better job of plotting their story out. But if you didn't know, I'm doing a movie ticket giveaway right now, just because there's so many movies coming out. It can be for anything you want. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I'll name a new winner at the end of this. But like I said, overall takeaway is that this was a much better version of Season 1. They broadened the mythology in an interesting way. The Duffer Brothers said that they have a 4 to 5 season plan, so that's all that they're expecting this series to run. So I will be doing Easter egg videos after this, and I'll explain a little bit more specifically about what they tease with that big ending. But overall, I feel like there were only a few things that didn't work for me. There were a few characters that I don't think worked out really well. There were a few story choices in between some of the other mythology episodes that I don't think worked quite as well. But I think some of the weirder stuff that they tease, they'll just follow up on Season 3. So I'll talk about that very specific episode that everybody's really confused by. Because they do this really cool thing where Empire Strikes Back, remember, we're talking about the 80s, Empire Strikes Back splits the groups apart, and then they each have their own storylines that sort of intersect and then eventually come back around to meet each other by the end of the story. So without doing spoilers, 11 just had some very specific, separate storylines off by herself that they probably won't get to till Season 3. But I think the only reason why people were a little dissatisfied with the placement of that particular episode was because it felt so different from what was going on and so disconnected. So just remember, they're planting a lot of seeds for Season 3, Season 4, Season 5. But probably the best performances were the kids, and you can kind of tell how they doubled down on the kids during Season 2. Now in Season 1, you had the adult storyline, you had the teenagers, and then you have the kids. The thing that they changed about this season is that they sort of mixed the groups up, so you get a lot of the teenagers with the kids, and I feel like they did a much better job balancing some of the adult storylines. So Hopper always has some of the best performances. Winona Ryder's character was a little more well-balanced. She had to play crazy for pretty much all of Season 1. They bring her down just a little bit for Season 2, so I feel like she was great. And I know a lot of people are always hyping up Finn Wolfhard because he was in the It movie, and there's a lot of It movie inside Stranger Things. They take a lot of Stephen King inspiration. The funny thing that's actually been happening since the new It movie came out and blew up is that a lot of younger people that have gone to see it have actually thought that it's ripping off Stranger Things. So I'm sure that they promptly got slapped in the street just because so much of Stranger Things is built on the bones of Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, and a whole bunch of 80s pop culture. The only real character that didn't work for me at all was Billy Hargrove. So if you don't know who he is, he was actually in the Power Rangers movie, but they brought him on to Season 2 to specifically be a villain. So if you thought he was a big asshole, that's because he was written to be an asshole for all the characters. Like you have the supernatural threats, then you have the human threats. They wanted Billy to be that human threat for the younger characters. So he did that really well, but he was just so over the top and so on the nose, and I just couldn't stand that 80s haircut. I know this is supposed to be set in the 80s, but it's almost like the character was a badly written version of a Karate Kid Cobra Kai villain. So that sort of gets to my other point. Like one of the few things that I felt like just didn't work for this series is the way they were so on the nose with some of their references. Like all the music that they used was great, but the way that they used it tended to be very on the nose. Like, oh, they're all wearing their Ghostbusters costumes, so we're going to play the Ghostbusters song. Sometimes the music that they used didn't always do the best job of commenting on the action. Like if you're noticing the music, then it's taking you out of the story and it's not doing its job the way it should. So it was a great playlist overall, but I feel like they went back to that well too often. In the music that they actually composed for the series, the weird synth music, that's actually really good, so they actually should have relied on that a little bit more. Millie Bobby Brown feels like she's matured a lot since Season 1. Her performance reflected that. Some of her dialogue was a little on the nose, like when she was taking her principled stance. Friends don't lie. Like I feel like at this point, she would probably learn to speak a little bit better. So hopefully by the time we get to Season 3, she's actually speaking in complete sentences. Or she's just beaming her thoughts to the other children. That would actually be acceptable. and they actually do some cool things in broadening the mythology of how her powers work. Like I was saying, there's a particular episode that felt really weird during this season. It sort of sets up the larger mythology of the other children at the Hawkins laboratory. Like, she's number 11. That means that there are at least 10 other kids, and we'll probably learn more about them when we get to season 3. So that was sort of a left turn for the season, but it could turn into something interesting in a future season. Who knows? Moving towards the series ending and sort of the setups for season 2, without getting into super spoilers, I feel like they did a good job of wrapping up the challenge of season 2 while at the same time letting you know that this is not over. Like, they get a pretty definitive ending, but throughout the season, they do a good job of reminding you why they got into this situation, how it got started, and then based on some of the new characters they introduced, like Kali, number 8, you get some ideas about how that threat might come back. But they did do a good job of wrapping the logic up with the characters, so you understand why 11 can walk around in broad daylight, whereas she can't during the beginning of the season, why she's being hunted down, and why that's different by the end. And just overall, I think they did a good job of exploring the characters in a way that they didn't during season 1. They said one of their big goals was to do separate little storylines they didn't have time for in season 1, and that's really where you get to that separate 11 storyline. You learn about Hopper's backstory, you learn more about his family, you learn more about Hopper's relationship back in school with Will's mom, like they actually had something between them. So it just provides some context for shifting relationships and character dynamics in season 3, in addition to all the big mythology stuff that they teased. So I don't think I've mentioned it, but probably one of the best things that I like about Stranger Things over some of the other Netflix series like Marvel's Netflix series is the fact that it's only 8 to 9 episodes. Season 2 just had that one extra episode, but the Marvel Netflix shows have been doing this thing where they do 13 episodes, but they only have about 6 episodes of story. So that was one of the big complaints about Stranger Things Season 1, is it took a long time to get where it was going. Season 2 gets there a lot faster. But they had some great new characters. Hopper is probably still my favorite. I mean, 11's really cool, but out of all the new people, I probably like Mad Max the best. And Paul Reiser was just funny. Just seeing him in all those old 80s and 90s television shows that I used to watch, and then seeing him in this was just kind of funny. But let me know in the comments, what did you think about Season 2? Who was your favorite character? And what do you want them to follow up on in Season 3? Congratulations to Darius Howard, you're the latest giveaway winner. I have some more Flash and Marvel stuff to post this weekend, so I'll try to get that out as fast as possible. You can click here for my non-spoilery Thor Ragnarok review, and you can click here for the last real big Justice League trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.